Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we have a story about a hard-working flight attendant who taught racists a lesson they would unforget. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. He longed to be a part of the elite few who could soar above the clouds, not just literally, but figuratively, to be above the limitations, the boundaries, and the stereotypes that held him down. For Marcus, the sky wasn't just the limit. It was a challenge, a dare from life itself. Each one represented freedom, adventure, and a life beyond his neighborhood. It wasn't easy. Every dollar he earned was hard fought, but he didn't mind. He knew that the price of his dream was measured not just in dollars, but in sweat, determination, and sacrifice. There were times when the fear of failure threatened to ground him. When self-doubt whispered in his ear that he wasn't cut out for this, it was a moment of pure elation. All the hard work, the sacrifices, the struggles had been worth it. He had flown, not just figuratively, but literally. He had touched the sky. But he pushed through. He reminded himself why he had started, why he had dared to dream. Then it became more apparent. The flight attendants, all white, started mocking him in the galley. The small kitchen area of the aircraft where meals are prepared for passengers. He was met not with congratulations or even polite acceptance, but with ridicule and scorn. It was a harsh reality check. His success in getting the job hadn't erased the deep-rooted racism that existed in this environment. As the crew moved through the cabin, offering drinks and appetizers, the atmosphere shifted. A tense quiet filled the space between the flight attendants and the passengers. He helped the elderly passenger, offering him a clean napkin and a warm smile. He then turned to the mess on the floor, kneeling down to gather the broken pieces of glass while another flight attendant cleared away the food. His actions were precise, careful, and fast. Before long, the aisle was clear, and the passenger was settled back into his seat with a fresh meal. Suddenly, one of the flight attendants, a young woman with tired eyes and a tight bun, struggled with an order. He was a beacon of composure in the midst of the chaos. He became one of the top flight attendants in the airline, eventually rising to a leadership role. He mentored new flight attendants, sharing his knowledge and experience with them. He was patient, kind, and understanding, knowing that they needed guidance and support to navigate the challenges of their job. Marcus stood quietly sipping water, observing the crew. After a while, the older flight attendant broke the silence. A young woman in the audience raised her hand and asked, "How can we, as individuals, combat racism and create lasting change in our communities?" Marcus paused, thinking about the question. The young woman smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. If you enjoyed this story, please share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories. We appreciate your support and hope you keep watching. "Thank you," she whispered. That's all I needed to hear. He had been asked this question many times before, but each time he gave an answer that was shaped by his experiences. His journey from a small town to the skies. He worked with senior management to organize diversity training sessions, encouraging open discussions about race, gender, and cultural sensitivity. He wanted to create an environment where everyone felt valued and respected, where differences were celebrated and prejudice was challenged. The younger female flight attendant looked up, her eyes filled with remorse. People from all over the country reached out to him, sharing their experiences of racism and asking for advice. He never forgot the struggles he had faced to get where he was, the obstacles he had overcome, and the people he had helped along the way. He knew that his success was not just his own, but a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of mentorship. Understand the history of racism, the systemic biases that exist, and the ways in which it continues to manifest itself in our society today. He paused, meeting the young woman's gaze directly. "Then educate others," he continued. "Be willing to have difficult conversations, to challenge stereotypes, and to dismantle harmful beliefs. Be an ally. Listen, learn, and amplify the voices of those who have been marginalized, and the need for diversity and inclusion in all aspects of society." He became a mentor, a counselor, and a friend. Too many. "I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have joked about your name. I just get nervous around new people. Look, I'm sorry about earlier, she began, her voice laced with embarrassment. We don't usually have guests on our flights, and we weren't really sure how to react. They had only seen a black passenger and thought to make light of the situation, not realizing that they were dealing with a real human being who deserved respect and understanding. She trailed off, her gaze fixed on the floor. His actions spoke volumes about his character and competence, making it clear that he was not just a flight attendant, but a problem solver, a peacemaker, and a true professional. Finally, he spoke, his voice calm and steady. "No, it's okay," he said, his gaze lifting to meet theirs. "I understand. It's just that next time you have a passenger who needs a little extra care, maybe you won't make light of it. It could be a matter of life and death." His words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of his experience. She dropped a tray of food, sending plates and glasses clattering to the floor. In an instant, the cabin filled with the clatter of breaking dishes and the gasps of startled passengers. Their laughter echoed through the compartment, carrying jokes that were not meant for his ears. One of them, a burly man with a receding hairline and a cruel smile, leaned against the counter, eyeing him. Well, look it up. "We got ourselves a token," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Food lay scattered across the aisle, soaking into the carpet, creating a mess that threatened to engulf the entire cabin. The passenger who had been waiting for a drink stood awkwardly in the aisle, his meal forgotten. Seeing an opportunity to demonstrate his skills, Marcus moved quickly through the cabin. "You know, for diversity and stuff." The others joined in, their laughter echoing through the tight space. It wasn't just about him. It was about proving to everyone who had ever doubted him that he could fly. He'd made it, despite what everyone had expected. He decided to stay quiet, to focus on the task at hand, to serve the passengers with the utmost professionalism. He was determined to prove them wrong, to show them that he was more than just a black guy in a flight attendant uniform. He was in the sky, not just a passenger, but a vital part of the aircraft's operation. But as the plane ascended into the clouds, a sense of unease settled over him. The camaraderie and excitement he had shared with his fellow crew members during the pre-flight preparations had taken on a different tone. It was about showing his community that dreams didn't have a ceiling. He learned that dreams didn't come cheap, but they were priceless. They were like silver streaks of hope cutting through the grayness of his everyday life. Surrounded by aircraft, runways, and fellow dreamers, he felt like he had found his tribe. He thrived in the structured discipline of flight training. He learned about aerodynamics, navigation, and meteorology. He logged hours in the air, each one bringing him closer to his goal. Marcus wasn't sure why he was so drawn to the sky, but he knew that it was more than just a childhood fascination. It was a call and a destiny. He wanted to be where the air was thin and the view was endless, where the only limits were those he set for himself. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on our new stories. He wanted to be a flight attendant for a major airline, a position that was traditionally dominated by white Americans. But Marcus was undeterred. He knew that his qualifications spoke louder than any prejudice. He got the job. Marcus Thompson had always dreamed of flying, not just as a passenger, but as someone who belonged in the sky. He wanted to thrive, to reach for the sun. And for Marcus, that meant flying. It wasn't just about being in the sky. It was about being above it all, above the prejudice, the poverty, the despair, and the doubts. It was about soaring high enough to touch the clouds and whisper to the stars. Growing up in a rough neighborhood in Chicago, he had seen enough disappointment and despair to last a lifetime. Every day was a battle against judgmental eyes and assumptions. He was the product of his environment, a place where your future was often predetermined by your background, your skin color, and the odds stacked against you. It was a place where dreams were considered luxuries, and aspirations were often crushed under the weight of reality. But Marcus was different. He wasn't content to simply accept the limitations others imposed on him. From an early age, he had this burning desire to break free, to prove that he could do more than survive in the shadows. As a young boy, He would stand for hours gazing up at the planes that flew overhead. He started saving money for flying lessons, mowing lawns, delivering newspapers, and doing odd jobs. Finally, with his savings and a lot of grit, he enrolled in flight school. It was a world away from his old life, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. After countless hours of study and practice, he earned his wings. With his newfound certification, he started applying for jobs. The day he boarded his first flight as part of the crew, Marcus could feel the weight of his journey. It was subtle at first, a few uneasy glances, whispers that died down when he approached. At first, Marcus had been taken aback, his initial excitement replaced by a surge of anger and hurt, but he refused to let their ignorance dim his shine. Hours passed, and it was time to serve the in-flight meals. The older flight attendant rushed to help, but it was clear that the damage was done. His movements were calm, efficient, and reassuring. Throughout the incident, Marcus maintained a quiet professionalism. He didn't utter a word of complaint or blame, nor did he crack a smile or frown. When the plane touched down and the passengers disembarked, the flight crew gathered for a post-flight chat. Yeah, another crew member added. We're a pretty tight-knit group, and we don't usually include outsiders. Marcus listened, his expression unreadable. He took another sip of water, his eyes never leaving the floor. The crew members looked at each other, their faces pale. They had not realized the gravity of their action. As the days went by, Marcus continued to excel in his job. He also took it upon himself to help create programs to foster diversity and respect among the flight crews. As the years passed, Marcus's reputation grew. He became known not just as an exceptional flight attendant, but as a champion of diversity and inclusion. Through it all, Marcus remained humble and grounded. One day, while giving a presentation at a diversity conference, Marcus was asked a question. Start by educating yourself, he began, his voice resonating with authority. As Marcus spoke, the room filled with nods and murmurs of agreement. And that's the end of Marcus's story.